Imagine waking up to the sound of gunfire, or walking down the street with the constant fear of being mugged. For millions of Americans, this is the harsh reality of living in the country's most treacherous cities. From crumbling urban landscapes to suburban sprawls with secrets to hide, we're counting down the 14 most dangerous cities in the U.S., places where the American dream has turned into a never-ending nightmare. Can you guess which cities made the list? Number 14, Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, largest city in Kentucky, U.S., and the seat of Jefferson County, opposite the falls of the Ohio River. Louisville is the center of a metropolitan area, including Jefferson County in Kentucky and Clark and Floyd counties in Indiana. Bridges spanning the Ohio link the city with New Albany and Jeffersonville, Indiana. But beneath its picturesque landscape and thriving metropolitan area, Louisville conceals a more sinister reality. The city is plagued by high levels of violence, crime, and social inequality, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. According to FBI crime data, Louisville reported a violent crime rate of 562.5 incidents per 100,000 residents as of 2017, significantly higher than the national average. The city's homicide rate is particularly alarming, with over 104 murders recorded in the year 2020, representing a 38% increase from the previous year. This troubling trend is reflected in the city's crime statistics. On Tuesday, February 11, 2025, a somber scene unfolded at a local hospital, where a teenage girl was recovering from injuries sustained in a shooting that occurred the previous evening, Monday, February 10th, in the Valley Station area. Louisville Metro Police responded to the 5,400 block of 8 Bells Lane around 7:30 p.m. on a reported shooting near Elsie Road and Dixie Highway. Once on the scene, officers found a 13-year-old teen girl who had been shot in the leg, according to Louisville Metro Police Department spokesperson Aaron Ellis. The officers were able to render aid until the emergency medical service team arrived and transported the teen to the nearest hospital, which is the University of Louisville Hospital. Neighborhoods such as Russell, Shawnee, and Park Duval are among the most violent, with high levels of gang activity, drug trafficking, and gun violence. The city's police department has implemented various initiatives to combat crime, but the root causes of poverty, lack of education, and systemic racism remain entrenched. Furthermore, Louisville's high crime rates are often linked to social and economic disparities. The city struggles with poverty, unemployment, and lack of access to quality education and health care. The median household income in Louisville is far lower than the national average, and the city's poverty rate is significantly higher. This shows that while Louisville's scenic beauty and rich history make it an attractive destination, the city's high crime rates, social inequality, and economic disparities cannot be ignored. Therefore, prospective Black residents, particularly families with children, should exercise caution and carefully consider the city's challenges before deciding to relocate to Louisville. Number 13, Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon, a city known for its quirky vibe, food trucks, and microbreweries, has its share of challenges that may make it less appealing to some. Despite its reputation for being relatively safe, Portland has experienced a rise in crime over the past 2 years, with some areas being more problematic than others. One of the most striking aspects of Portland is its racial demographics. With a population that is over 85% white, Portland is one of the whitest major cities in the United States. This lack of diversity has led to feelings of isolation and marginalization among Black residents in the city, who are currently struggling to find a sense of community and belonging. Despite its reputation for progressivism, Portland has a complex and often fraught history of racial relations. The city's early 20th century policies of exclusion and redlining contributed to the displacement of Black residents from neighborhoods like Albina and Williams, which were once thriving hubs of African American culture. Today, these neighborhoods are rapidly gentrifying, with longtime Black residents facing displacement and erasure. One of the most pressing concerns facing Portland today is the alarming escalation of homelessness. This crisis has reached a boiling point as tent camps, streets, sidewalks, and makeshift shelters sprout up across the city, leaving residents, business owners, and visitors alike to navigate the complex and often fraught landscape of homelessness. This issue is particularly pronounced in areas like Old Town and the Pearl District, where residents and business owners have reported increased instances of petty crime and harassment. Another concern is the rise in property crime, including break-ins, theft, and vandalism. According to police statistics, property crime has increased by over 10% in the past year, with neighborhoods like the Alberta Arts District and Hawthorne being particularly affected. This surge in property crime has left residents feeling uneasy and has prompted increased calls for improved community policing and neighborhood watch initiatives. Portland's streets can also be hazardous, particularly for pedestrians and cyclists. The city's roads are often congested, and drivers can be aggressive, making it essential for residents to be vigilant when navigating the city's streets. Additionally, the city's public transportation system, while extensive, can be unreliable, leading to frustration among commuters. Furthermore, Portland's rapid gentrification has led to increased costs of living, making it challenging for low-income residents to afford housing, food, and other necessities. The city's median home price has skyrocketed, and rents have increased exponentially, forcing many long-time residents to seek housing elsewhere. Gang activity is another concern in Portland, particularly in neighborhoods with high concentrations of poverty and minority populations. While the city's overall crime rate is lower than many major U.S. cities, gang-related violence is a significant issue in areas like North Portland and Gresham. The Portland Police Bureau has also faced criticism for its handling of racial issues, including allegations of racial profiling and excessive force. In 2020, the city saw widespread protests and demonstrations following the police killing of George Floyd, highlighting the deep-seated tensions between law enforcement and communities of color. In addition to these social challenges, Portland's economy can be difficult for Black Americans to navigate. The city's tech industry dominates the local economy, but this sector has historically been inaccessible to people of color due to systemic barriers and biases. As a result, Black Portlanders may struggle to find employment opportunities that match their skills and experience. Lastly, Portland's weather can be quite gloomy, with over 150 days of rainfall per year. While some residents enjoy the misty atmosphere, others find it oppressive, particularly during the winter months when daylight hours are limited. While Portland remains a popular destination for many, these disadvantages highlight the importance of carefully considering the city's challenges before deciding to call it a home. Number 12, Seattle. Seattle, the Emerald City located in Washington State, is a vibrant and eclectic metropolis that attracts millions of visitors each year. From its iconic Space Needle to its bustling Pike Place Market, Seattle is a city that seamlessly blends urban charm with natural beauty. However, as with any major city, safety can be a concern for travelers. So, is Seattle safe to visit? Overall, Seattle is considered a relatively safe city, with low crime rates compared to other major metropolitan areas. According to the FBI statistics, Seattle's violent crime rate is lower than many other cities of similar size. However, like any city, Seattle has its share of crime hotspots. Some areas, such as the Pioneer Square neighborhood, have higher crime rates and are best avoided at night. Additionally, visitors should be aware of pickpocketing and petty theft in crowded areas like Pike Place Market and the Seattle waterfront. Another pressing issue of concern is the city's struggle with homelessness. Seattle's homeless population has been steadily increasing, leading to a rise in crime, vagrancy, and public health concerns. This issue is further complicated by the opioid epidemic, which has affected Seattle like many other U.S. cities, leading to increased crime, overdoses, and social problems. Property crime is not exempt in Seattle, with higher rates of theft, burglary, and car break-ins, particularly in areas with high foot traffic. According to Neighborhood Scout, Seattle's property crime rate is around 55.64 per 1,000 residents, with a total of 38,829 property crimes reported in just 2020. This includes 6,623 burglaries, 14,419 thefts, and 17,787 vehicle thefts. Additionally, violent crimes like assaults, robberies, and shootings do occur, often in areas with higher crime rates, with a violent crime rate of 7.44 per 1,000 residents. Seattle also experiences gang-related activity, particularly in neighborhoods like South Seattle and the Central District. Furthermore, mental health concerns often intersect with homelessness and drug issues, leading to unpredictable and potentially volatile situations. The city's busy streets and sidewalks are quite hazardous for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists, particularly in areas with heavy construction or congestion. Seattle's weather, while often mild, can also create hazardous conditions, particularly for drivers and pedestrians, with rain, wind, and occasional snow. Large events, festivals, and protests can also create safety concerns, particularly in crowded areas like downtown Seattle or the University District. Moreover, Seattle's rapid growth and gentrification have exacerbated social and economic disparities, leading to increased tensions and potential safety concerns. Number 11. Los Angeles. From follow-home burglaries to attacks and even killings on the metro system, there's been no shortage of headlines about crime in Los Angeles. But what is less clear is whether overall crime is up or down. For answers, LA Times Today turned to Crosstown LA, a nonprofit organization that does data journalism at USC Annenberg School of Communications and Journalism. Reporter John Rigardi spoke with Lisa McCree. The Crosstown LA also compiles public data from the LAPD and creates data-driven stories tracking crime rates, COVID spikes, and other news. Rigardi spoke about the number of burglaries in LA and why some data may be unreliable.
If you look at the numbers that the LAPD is publicly reporting, they're saying that burglaries are actually down a little bit in the first 8 or 9 months of this year compared with the same period in 2023.
Reported John Rigardi.
To date, there have been about 9,700 burglaries, which is about 500 fewer than in the same period the year before, 2023, and also slightly down from the year before that.
The journalist explained. Areas like Encino and Brentwood, usually thought of as safe neighborhoods, have seen higher burglary rates recently. Car thefts in Los Angeles, Rigardi said, are a mixed bag since the pandemic.
Just in 23, there were almost 26,000 car thefts in the city of Los Angeles, the highest number since 2006. By 2024, figures remained fairly stable within the first 8 months of the year, with around 17,000 incidents compared to the same period the year before. In contrast, during the same period in 2010, there were just about 10,300. This represents a staggering 64% increase in car thefts in the first 8 months of 2024. Notably, this trend is not unique to Los Angeles, as many major U.S. cities have experienced similar spikes,
he said. In the report, the journalist also broke down LA's murder statistics.
We saw about 218 murders so far in the first 8 to 9 months of 2024, which is about 6% down from the same period the year before and about 25% down from the same period in 2022,
Rigardi said. And if you're thinking of asking, how is LA compared to other major cities? Here is the breakdown.
In 2023, according to data that we crunched from the State Attorney General's office, the city of Los Angeles had 8.4 murders per 100,000 residents. New York City was below that, 4.4 murders per 100,000 residents, but Los Angeles did much better than some other places. In Chicago, the rate was about 22 murders per 100,000 residents. Washington, D.C., as at 2023, was around 40 killings per 100,000,
says reporter John Rigardi. The sheer size of the city means that crime can happen anywhere, anytime, and any day. The Los Angeles Police Department's efforts to keep pace with the city's growth had sometimes looked like a game of whack-a-mole. One of the most insidious dangers in Los Angeles is the ever-present threat of traffic accidents. The city's notorious traffic congestion has constantly turned even the most mundane commute into a white-knuckle ride, and the risk of being involved in a crash is always lurking. But it's not just the roads that can be treacherous. The city's sidewalks and public spaces are also hazardous. Panhandling, aggressive solicitation, and even violent crime can occur in broad daylight, making it essential to be constantly aware of one's surroundings. And then there's the issue of natural disasters. LA is situated in a seismically active region, and the threat of earthquakes, wildfires, and landslides is always present. The city's unique combination of rugged terrain and Mediterranean climate creates a perfect storm for devastating wildfires, which can spread with alarming speed. And, unfortunately, we've seen this play out in recent history. Take the January 2025 Southern California wildfires, for example. This series of 7 destructive wildfires affected the Los Angeles metropolitan area and San Diego County, burning over 57,000 acres of land and destroying more than 18,000 homes and structures. The wildfires were fueled by severe drought conditions, low humidity, and powerful Santa Ana winds, which reached gusts of up to 100 miles per hour. The devastating impact of the wildfires was evident in the estimated cost of properties lost, which ranged from a staggering $95 billion to $164 billion. This intense damage was caused from the 2 largest fires, the Palisades Fire and the Eaton Fire. The insured losses alone were estimated to be around $75 billion, while the structural damage was extensive. Number 10. San Francisco. The city in 2011 had a total number of 50 murders reported, which is 6.1 per 100,000 people. This coincided with a period when California's homicide rate plummeted to a 44-year low. There were about 134 rapes, 3,142 robberies, and about 2,139 assaults. There were also 4,469 burglary cases, 25,100 thefts, and 4,210 motor vehicle thefts. The Tenderloin area has the highest crime rate in San Francisco. 70% of the city's violent crimes and around 1/4 of the city's murders occur in this neighborhood. The Tenderloin also sees high rates of drug abuse, gang violence, and prostitution. Another area with high crime rates is the Bayview Hunters Point area. In the first 6 months of 2015, there were 25 murders compared to 14 in the first 6 months of 2014. That rate, though, did rise again by the close of 2016. According to the San Francisco Police Department, there were 59 murders in the city in 2016, an annual total that marked a 13.5% increase in the number of 52 homicides from 2015. In November 2021, San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin's office stated that about 2% of auto burglaries in San Francisco did result in an arrest, but unfortunately this didn't seem to lower the crime rates. As of August 2022, the San Francisco Police Department was mired in a critical understaffing crisis, with 300 less officers than what it should have. In September 2022, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that a poll of 1,653 city residents found that over the past 5 years, 45% of San Francisco residents had been the victim of theft, and 24% had either been threatened with violence or had been the victim of a violent crime. For the past 2 years, crime has surged in San Francisco's western neighborhoods, like the Sunset District and Richmond District, which were once considered safe. As of 2023, the city's crime issues were beginning to affect its major league sports franchises. A notable example was when the Los Angeles Dodgers won out over the San Francisco Giants to sign Shohei Ohtani. According to Buster Posey, who spoke to The Athletic, concerns about the city's safety were a factor in Ohtani's decision to choose the Dodgers. Posey noted that rising crime and drug concerns were becoming a hindrance in recruiting free agents, suggesting that San Francisco's openness to drug issues made the team a less desirable choice. As the days turn into weeks and weeks into months, the crime rate in San Francisco continues to vary tremendously per neighborhood. There are quite a handful of areas that seem to produce the lion's share of the crime statistics. Some of these areas are near, but not in, prime tourist spots, and others are in areas that tourists rarely see. Just recently, there were a series of muggings near Alamo Square, Painted Ladies, and in Noe Valley, where women were robbed of their cell phones. The most annoying aspect of crime for most people in San Francisco is the car break-ins. They subsided quite a bit during the lockdown, but have risen again due to more people being out and about, including a return of tourists to the city. From recent reports, break-ins are down to 54%, according to SFPD data for 2024 compared to 2023. Despite a notable decline in car break-ins across San Francisco in 2024, some neighborhoods continue to grapple with this issue. Interestingly, Noe Valley stands out as an exception, having experienced an uptick in car crimes. What's striking is that this trend isn't limited to typical hotspots like tourist areas or high-crime neighborhoods, where break-ins are more common. Noe Valley is quite an attractive older neighborhood in the middle of San Francisco, with lots of pretty Victorians, charming shops, and sky-high real estate prices. But the area, and even most of San Francisco's woes, with dirty streets, drug addicts, and homelessness. Number 9. Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, the capital city of Mississippi, is located in Hinds County and has a population of approximately 153,701 residents, according to the 2020 census. Despite offering desirable amenities and an affordable cost of living, Jackson faces significant hurdles in their daily lives. Crime rates remain stubbornly high, casting a shadow over the city's streets and neighborhoods. Jackson's crime rate put Mississippi's capital city at the number 23rd spot of 385 U.S. cities, according to City Crime Rankings 2008 to 2009, released by the CQ Press. The city's ranking puts it in a better light than New Orleans, which had the highest crime rate, followed by Camden, NJ, Detroit, St. Louis, Oakland, California, and 17 other U.S. cities. The CQ Press is a division of Sage Publications in Washington, D.C., and it produced the rankings using the FBI's Crime in the United States, which the Bureau makes available every fall for the previous year, based on its Uniform Crime Reporting Program. The Uniform Crime Reporting (UCR) program managed by the FBI collects and analyzes crime statistics from law enforcement agencies across the United States. According to the FBI, UCR data represents 94.6% of the U.S. population, with over 17,000 agencies voluntarily submitting their crime figures. These statistics encompass both violent crimes, including murder, manslaughter, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault, and property crimes, such as burglary, larceny theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. City Crime Rankings represents a composite summary of the crimes reported. In 2007, number first-ranked New Orleans reported 209 murders, 72 rapes, 1,015 robberies, and 1,457 aggravated assaults. In contrast, Jackson reported 46 murders, 141 rapes, 862 robberies, and 463 aggravated assaults. Jackson's crime ranking belies its relatively small population of approximately 175,000, with comparable cities like Brownsville, Texas, coming in at 270 of 385, and Ontario, California, at 186 of 385. For over 5 weeks beginning in mid-February 2021, parts of Jackson, Mississippi faced a water crisis. 2 consecutive storms had hit the city and led to prolonged freezing temperatures, causing pipes to burst. Thousands of residents were under a boil water advisory, which was finally lifted on March 18th. Even before the storms hit, Jackson's water system was a crisis in the making. The city of Jackson's struggles during the winter storms weren't due to a lack of preparation, but rather a lack of necessary resources and equipment. In essence, the city had a plan in place, but it was unable to effectively execute that plan due to inadequate infrastructure and capabilities.
The city of Jackson was not ill-prepared based on the winter storms. We were ill-equipped,
said Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba on the structural challenges of paying for deferred infrastructure maintenance and legacy costs.
This is because resources are often stripped from the city of Jackson. We don't enjoy the commensurate support that the city provides the state.
Jackson's crisis is tied to its inability to proactively invest in infrastructure upgrades. This inability stems from its ongoing economic and fiscal difficulties, a challenge that many other localities and water utilities face. In addition to a declining population, Jackson's high percentage of low-income residents in one of the poorest states in the country, limits steady and predictable revenues for public services, including drinking water and wastewater. Simply charging more for these services isn't easy either, given widespread affordability issues. Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba is working to address Jackson's water crisis by exploring new revenue sources, building on the efforts of his late father, Chokwe Lumumba, who passed away in office in 2014. However, the city still faces significant challenges in tackling the estimated $2 billion backlog of necessary water repairs. Despite securing nearly $800 million in aid for Jackson's troubled water system, including $600 million from the federal government and $115 million announced by President Joe Biden, the city's water infrastructure remains in crisis. The funding will be used to repair, replace, and modernize Jackson's water system, but the city's estimated $2 billion total capital needs remain a significant hurdle. The water crisis in Jackson has been decades in the making, with the city's aging infrastructure and lack of investment exacerbating the problem. The situation has been further complicated by climate change, rising costs of repair, and a declining tax base. These interconnected issues have taken a toll on the city's livability, earning Jackson a score of 57. Number 8. Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of the most historic cities in the whole of the United States. In fact, it wouldn't be hard to make the argument that this is where the United States was born, since this is where the Founding Fathers first began their revolution against British rule that eventually created the United States of America that the city has today. Unfortunately, Philadelphia has a reputation for being one of the most crime-ridden cities in the country. With a staggering 98% of neighborhoods in the U.S. being safer, Philadelphia's high crime rate is a significant concern for potential residents. Certain neighborhoods, such as Wissinoming East, Germantown Morton, and Mayfair, are particularly notorious for their high crime rates. Philadelphia consistently ranks above the national average in terms of crime, especially violent offenses. It has the highest violent crime rate of the top 10 American cities, with a population greater than 1 million residents, as well as the highest poverty rate among these cities. It has been included in real estate analytics company Neighborhood Scout's Top 100 Most Dangerous Cities in America list every year since it has been compiled. Much of the crime is concentrated in the north, west, and southwest sections of the city. The deadliest year in Philadelphia was 2021 with 562 murders. Furthermore, Philadelphia's harsh winters, with icy sidewalks and freezing temperatures, can make exploring the city's historic landmarks uncomfortable. The city experiences an average annual snowfall of 22.4 inches, and significant snowstorms are not uncommon. According to NBC Philadelphia, the region has experienced dangerously cold temperatures, with wind chill values plummeting to as low as -15 degrees Fahrenheit. Philadelphia's public school system, traffic, and wage tax are other areas of concern for potential residents. While the city has its advantages, including affordability and historical significance, its challenges make it a city to carefully consider before making a decision. Philadelphia's traffic situation is notoriously daunting, making daily commutes a frustrating experience. The city's narrow streets, many of which date back to the 18th century, were not designed to accommodate the heavy traffic volume of a modern metropolis. As a result, congestion is a constant issue, with drivers often finding themselves stuck in gridlock. Philadelphia is considered one of the worst cities in the U.S. for traffic, with drivers spending an average of hours per year stuck in traffic. The city's high population density only exacerbates the issue, contributing to the traffic chaos. Lastly, Philadelphia's wage tax, which applies to all residents regardless of employment status, is an additional financial burden. While not unique to Philadelphia, this tax is worth considering for those thinking of migrating to the city. Number 7. Miami. Miami, known for its vibrant culture and beautiful beaches, has a darker side when it comes to crime. According to FBI data, Miami has a higher crime rate compared to other major cities in the United States. One of the primary concerns in Miami is violent crime, with a rate of 7.14 incidents per 1,000 residents. This includes homicides, aggravated assaults, and robberies. Some neighborhoods, such as Liberty City and Overtown, are particularly plagued by violent crime. The Neighborhood Scout ranks the city 8 out of 100 for safety. In other words, Miami is safer than only 8% of U.S. cities and less safe than 92%. Miami's crime rate is 88% higher than other communities in Florida. However, there is more to the picture. Neighborhood Scout compared Miami's overall crime rates to those of other U.S. cities of a similar size and found that it ranked in about the middle of the pack for safety. Miami's most significant challenges lie in its high rates of violent crime, including aggravated assault, murder, and rape, as well as property crime and motor vehicle theft, where the city ranks particularly poorly. The chances of becoming a victim of violent crime in Miami is 1 in 169, of property crime 1 in 35, and of auto theft 1 in 245. As for the homicide rates in recent years, Miami had 61 homicides in 2020, but only 47 in 2021 and 2022. There was a notable improvement in the homicide clearance rate, rising from 47% in 2021 to 70% in 2022, indicating a significant increase in the number of homicides being solved. However, Miami's property crime rates remained stagnant, with a staggering 35.57 incidents per 1,000 residents. This encompasses burglaries, thefts, and motor vehicle thefts, which continue to plague the city. Notably, popular tourist areas like South Beach are frequently targeted by opportunistic thieves and scammers, posing a persistent threat to visitors and locals alike. The most common crimes tourists have encountered while visiting the Miami area include petty theft, such as pickpocketing, purse snatching, and property rental scams. It is also possible to experience tropical storms and hurricanes, especially between June and October. And another great piece of advice that might help: leave your valuables at home and don't flaunt your wealth at the same time. Keep a close eye on your belongings while you are out and about, especially in crowded areas. Number 6. Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., the U.S. nation's capital, is often regarded as a hub of luxury and charm. However, beneath its polished exterior lies a complex web of challenges that make it a potentially hazardous place to call home. The city's sweltering summer humidity is a significant concern, particularly for vulnerable populations like the elderly and young children. The heat and moisture can make the summer months feel like a never-ending sauna, leading to health issues and discomfort. Adding to the city's challenges is its notorious traffic. With no main street for cars, the city's narrow, winding roads are some sort of congested nightmares, particularly during rush hour. This can lead to frustration, anxiety, and even accidents, making the daily commute a hazardous endeavor. The cost of living in Washington, D.C. is also a major drawback. Expensive rent and mortgages can be crippling, forcing many residents to sacrifice their quality of life in order to afford a place to live, thereby leading to financial stress, decreased mental and physical well-being, and a range of other negative consequences. Furthermore, the city's aging infrastructure and lack of effective waste management have allowed rat populations to thrive, posing a significant concern for residents. These pests can carry diseases and cause property damage, making them a hazardous presence in the city. Milder winters and more people working from home are some of the biggest reasons the district has seen a spike in the number of complaints about rats. In fact, the number of rat sightings in D.C. has increased each year since the pandemic began. Over the years, the district has been battling with a growing rat infestation. Despite efforts to control the population, the number of rat reports received by D.C. Health has skyrocketed for the past 3 years. In fiscal year 2020, the agency received 8,107 reports, which jumped to 11,391 in 2021, and further escalated to 13,373 in 2022-2022. However, in a promising turn, the number of reports decreased significantly in 2023, dropping to 6,141. While the year-to-date number might seem low, it's already at 3/4 of the number for all of 2020, and it's only early April. What's more alarming is that the bulk of rat reports each year come in during spring and summer. So, if you're considering Washington, D.C. as your dream destination, because of its luxurious lifestyle and beautiful scenery. Be aware that you're exposing yourself and your family to several varieties of diseases, like leptospirosis, hantavirus, rat bite fever, lymphocytic choriomeningitis, salmonellosis, and tapeworms. As in every other city and town, crime is a significant concern in Washington, D.C., with the city's violent crime rate exceeding the national average. Neighborhoods like Anacostia and Congress Heights are disproportionately affected by crime, leaving residents vulnerable to violence. According to the Metropolitan Police Department's crime data, violent crime remains a persistent issue. In 2024, there were 187 reported homicides, representing a 32% decrease from the previous year. However, this number is still alarming, with property crime being a major problem, with residents facing a high risk of theft, burglary, and other crimes. In 2024, there were 25,879 reported incidents of property crime, an 11% decrease from the previous year. While this decline is encouraging, the sheer volume of property crimes underscores the need for continued vigilance, and the year-to-date crime statistics for 2025 paint a mixed picture. As of February 12, 2025, reported homicides stood at 23, a 53% increase from the same period in 2024. In contrast, reported incidents of assault with a dangerous weapon and robbery decreased by 31% and 29%, respectively. Property crime decreased by 9% compared to the same period in 2024. These statistics highlight the complexities of crime in Washington, D.C. While progress has been made in some areas, persistent challenges remain. In general, behind Washington, D.C.'s luxurious and charming facade, the reality of living in the city is far more complex. The city's numerous challenges, from its sweltering summer humidity to its expensive cost of living, traffic congestion, and crime concerns, make it a hazardous place to call home. Number 5. Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas, with a beautiful river running through downtown, seems like a gem in the Diamond State. However, not far from the Clinton Presidential Library is one of the most violent parts of the country.
A lot of people don't know how to fight these days, so they use guns.
A Little Rock resident told News Nation's senior correspondent Brian Enton,
Like, we're standing here, and if they're mad at one of us, they'll drive up and just start shooting. They're not targeting any particular person, they just shoot randomly. So, innocent people always end up getting killed.
Using data from the FBI, USA Facts revealed the rate of violent crime in Arkansas was 709 per 100,000 state residents, ranking it higher than any other state in the nation. The city struggles persistently with alarming crime rates, a pressing concern that intensifies daily, weekly, and monthly, weighing heavily on residents, law enforcement, and community leaders alike. The city's violent crime rate stands at 15.22 per 1,000 residents, substantially higher than the national average. This staggering rate encompasses offenses such as assault, robbery, and homicide, indicating a pressing need for effective strategies to address these issues. Although the Little Rock Police Department has been working to combat violent crimes in high-risk neighborhoods, concerns about safety and racial disparities persist, particularly for Black residents. It is worth noting that despite all the efforts of security agencies, the city's murder rate remains a concern, with 0.18 murders per 1,000 residents, and property crimes at a rate of 52.22 per 1,000 residents. Aggravated assault is the most prevalent form of violent crime in Little Rock, occurring at a rate of 8.90 per 1,000 residents. This statistic highlights the need for continued focus on violence prevention and strengthening community relations to reduce these incidents. Robbery is another significant concern in Little Rock, occurring at a rate of 2.96 per 1,000 residents. This translates to nearly 3 incidents per 1,000 people, contributing substantially to the city's crime landscape. Burglary still slays in the city's air, with a rate of 9.52 per 1,000 residents. Motor vehicle theft, on the other hand, occurs at a rate of 5.59 per 1,000 residents. Larceny theft is actually the most frequent property crime in Little Rock, reported at a rate of 36.02 per 1,000 residents. Number 4. New York City. Beyond the dazzling lights, iconic landmarks, and cultural diversity, New York City's charm can be quite alluring, especially for those who haven't lived in the city before. As the saying goes, not all that glitters is gold. Before being seduced by the city's allure, consider the less glamorous aspects of living in New York. From the exorbitant cost of living to the overcrowded streets, here are a few key factors to weigh before making the Big Apple your home. Firstly, its expensive cost of living, which stands at a minimum rate of $4,130 per month, about 30% higher than the national average. This cost is driven up by high taxes, cost of food, public transport, and rent, which is the biggest expense. New York has the nation's highest rent and a competitive rental market. And for most of the residents living in apartments in the U.S.'s most expensive city, they either get a well-paying job before moving to the city or rent with roommates to split the cost. But then again, New York's streets can be really dirty. Living in New York City, you'll notice that the city streets aren't always near with glimmering lights as the internet portrays it. Given the size and activity of the city, this is somewhat expected, but it can be really unpleasant. The city also has vermin and pests scurrying all and about the place. Although it's not an everyday occurrence, but it's worth noting, especially if you're from a smaller, more residential town. If you value a relaxed pace of life or crave quiet moments, New York City might not be the best fit. As one of the world's most populous urban centers, the city is in a constant state of motion. With over 8 million residents, the streets are perpetually awash with people, making crowded sidewalks and bustling intersections an everyday reality. Considering moving to the great city? Then get prepared for a frenetic pace of life, where navigating through throngs of people becomes a daily routine. Some with homes, others homeless, because New York is a city with a large number of homeless people. The city has seen an increase in homelessness following the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of these people make up the group of bad gangs, kidnappers, murderers, and those committing a whole hell of crime in the city. The city's crime index is 50.83 with a safety index of 49.17. New York, like many large cities, has its share of safety concerns. One of the cons of living in New York is that certain areas, like Brownsville, Hunts Point, and so many others, have high crime rates. The most common crimes are thefts and felony assaults. With the well-known saying, "New York is never quiet," entertainment in the city is all round the clock, which can be an advantage to many, but it might turn into a disadvantage with the constant movement of tourists and locals. Surviving New York's unpredictable weather is quite another adventure. The city's continental climate means that potential residents must brave 4 distinct seasons, each with its unique challenges. Summer months bring sweltering heat and humidity, with temperatures often soaring above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The concrete jungle can feel like an oven, making everyday activities feel like a grueling marathon. In contrast, winters are cold and unforgiving, with temperatures frequently dipping below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Snowstorms can dump several inches of snow on the city, causing chaos and disruption to daily life. Spring and autumn in the city are quite lovely, but even these seasons can be unpredictable. Unexpected cold snaps or heat waves can occur, keeping residents on their toes. Number 3. Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana, is known for its steel mills and for being the birthplace of the late Michael Jackson. The region has been chiefly dominated by massive industrial activity and is home to U.S. Steel's Gary Works, North America's biggest steel mill complex. Before it was dubbed one of the most dangerous cities in America, it was known as the Magic City. The human population in this city is about 66,942. But for quite some time, the population has constantly been declining at a rate of negative 0.76% annually. The streets, once bustling with life, are now deserted, a testament to the city's dwindling population. Engineering marvels like theater domes and buildings lie in decay and are empty. The decline of manufacturing in Gary had a devastating impact, as employment at the U.S. Steel plant plummeted by over 20,000 jobs, leaving only 7,500 by the end of the 20th century. This massive loss of employment opportunities sent the region into a spiral of poverty, with far-reaching consequences for its residents. Gary is deemed dangerous because of its high crime rate. In 1993, the city was dubbed the murder capital of the United States of America after the population of over 100,000 saw a record of 110 people killed, a rate which was 3 times that of Chicago. With time, high crime rates, fueled by gang activity and violence, have become an unfortunate norm, and the constant sound of gunfire, sirens piercing the air, is all too common, leaving residents on edge. Gary's high crime rate was because many residents lived beneath the poverty line. Once the thriving steel manufacturing business went down, the city's businesses had to close down. Consequently, many households barely had sufficient income to sustain them. Many people gradually became poor and resorted to crime. In 1995, Gary had a population of 115,269. There were over 3,000 reported crimes that year. These included 129 murders, making it one of the most violent cities in the USA. Systemic racism, decline in industry, and economic challenges engendered conditions ripe for violence in the city. In 2019, the average crime rate in Gary, Indiana, was 366.7 per 100,000 residents, and the national average for property crime was 2,109.9 per 100,000. During this time, Gary's crime rate was 554.31 per 100,000 residents, and a property crime rate of 3,556.17 per 100,000 residents. Gary's violent crime rate was 1.5 times the national average. With the city's once bustling streets, now left deserted and silent, just a few people venture out, and they do so with caution, their eyes scanning the surroundings for potential threats. The fear and uncertainty that grip Gary's residents are palpable, making everyday tasks feel like daunting challenges. Moreover, the city's industrial past continues to cast a shadow over the health and well-being of its residents. Environmental concerns, such as pollution and toxic waste, pose significant health risks. The legacy of steel mills, oil refineries, and other industrial sites has left behind a toxic footprint, contaminating the air, water, and soil. Residents are forced to contend with the consequences of environmental neglect, from respiratory problems and cancer to birth defects and neurological damage. The impact is disproportionately felt by low-income and minority communities, who often lack the resources and advocacy to demand change. While the city has its advantages, its numerous struggles cannot be ignored. It's crucial to put in mind the potential difficulties and to thoughtfully evaluate whether Gary is the right fit for your personal and professional goals. Number 2. Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri, a metropolis once thriving with industrial might, now grapples with a reputation for being a dangerous city. While high crime rates are undoubtedly a significant concern, the city's struggles extend far beyond the realm of crime. A complex interplay of economic, environmental, and social factors has woven a tapestry of danger that permeates many aspects of life in Kansas City. The city's industrial past, once a driving force behind its growth and prosperity, has left behind a legacy of environmental concerns. Pollution and toxic waste have contaminated neighborhoods, posing health risks to residents and creating an environment in which crime can thrive. Abandoned buildings and vacant lots, remnants of a bygone era, stand as testaments to the city's decline, providing fertile ground for illicit activities to take root. Economic challenges have also taken a toll on Kansas City. Poverty and unemployment have become entrenched in many neighborhoods, leading to a sense of desperation among residents. The lack of opportunities and resources has created an environment in which crime can flourish, as some individuals turn to illicit means to survive. Neighborhoods like South Blue Valley, Marlboro East, and Hidden Valley struggle with the consequences of poverty, unemployment, and urban decay. Social issues, including gang activity, drug trafficking, and prostitution, are also intertwined with the city's economic and environmental challenges. As of 2021, the chance of being a victim of violent crime in Kansas City was 1 in 67, and property crime was 1 in 21. Kansas City crime rate has been diligent with data available up to June 2024 through various reports. These statistics highlight both the improvements and areas still requiring attention, even though Kansas City is still a very dangerous city to live in America. Comparing this data with other cities, states, and neighborhoods provides a clearer picture of where Kansas City stands on a national scale. Crime in Kansas City is categorized into violent crimes, including murder, rape, robbery, and assault, and property crimes, such as burglary, theft, and vehicle theft, as noted by Area Vibes. Kansas City exhibits varied crime rates across different neighborhoods. Certain areas report a higher incidence of violent crimes. In these regions, residents face increased risks, with the chances of being a victim significantly elevated compared to other parts of the city. For instance, the likelihood of experiencing a violent crime in some neighborhoods is 1 in 1,704 compared to wider averages. Property crimes also show a distinct pattern. Some districts experience higher frequencies of burglary, theft, and vehicle-related crimes. These areas show a rate of 1 in 548 for property crimes, indicating specific hotspots that necessitate focused law enforcement efforts. These problems have created a sense of hopelessness and despair among some residents, leading to a breakdown in community cohesion and social structures. The city's infrastructure, once a source of pride, now struggles to keep pace with the demands of its residents, exacerbating the sense of danger that pervades many neighborhoods. Number 1. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga, Tennessee is a city nestled in the southeastern United States, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of the Appalachian Mountains and the serene Tennessee River. Nicknamed the Scenic City, Chattanooga's stunning natural landscape has made it a popular destination for outdoor enthusiasts and nature lovers alike. However, beneath its picturesque surface, Chattanooga conceals a disturbing reality: a high violent crime rate that poses a significant threat to residents and visitors. According to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting (UCR) program, Chattanooga reported 1,048 violent crimes per 100,000 residents, a rate that surpasses many other cities of similar size and demographics. While homicides were relatively low, the city experienced an alarming 783 cases of aggravated assault per 100,000 people in 2018, more than triple the national average. This staggering statistic raises concerns about the safety and well-being of Chattanooga's residents and visitors. In addition to violent crimes, Chattanooga also struggles with an astonishingly high property crime rate of 6,058 incidents per 100,000 residents. This includes theft, burglary, and vandalism, which can have a devastating impact on individuals and businesses. The financial and emotional toll of these crimes can be severe, eroding trust in the community and creating a sense of unease. So, what's behind Chattanooga's high crime rates? Experts point to a combination of factors, including poverty, lack of opportunities, and inadequate community resources. Chattanooga's poverty rate is higher than the national average, with over 20% of residents living below the poverty line. This can lead to a sense of desperation and hopelessness, which can contribute to higher crime rates. Furthermore, Chattanooga's economy has historically been driven by manufacturing and industry, which has led to a decline in well-paying jobs and opportunities. This has resulted in a lack of investment in community resources, such as education, job training programs, and social services. The lack of access to essential resources has persistently worsened social issues within the city, creating a cycle of hardship that perpetuates inequality and hinders community progress. So if you're planning to visit or live in Chattanooga, it's essential to be aware of the city's heart-wrenching situation. That concludes our list of the 14 most dangerous cities in the U.S. that Black Americans must approach with caution. However, this information is not limited to Black Americans alone, but to whomsoever it may concern. Safety, well-being, and peace is what we want for all humanity. That said, we hope this video has been informative and eye-opening so far, providing valuable insights for anyone considering migration. Remember, Being informed is the first step to making empowered decisions. Also, don't forget to support our works by always hitting the thumb button, share video with families and friends to spread awareness, and subscribe to our channel for more engaging contents if you are yet to. We are delighted to have you with us. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.